Whether you call Brisbane home or are planning a trip to the River City, this is the podcast that will help you plan the ultimate Bluey day out. The best of Brisbane for real life. This is Bluey's Brisbane with Justin and Lou.
G'day everyone, welcome to another instalment of Bluey's Brisbane, the podcast that goes behind the scenes of Bluey and explores the real life world of our favourite healer family. And today we've set up by the bay. That's right, we're down on the Wynnum and Manly foreshore. In fact, we're right next to the Whale Water Park that features in the episode Pass the Parcel, which may have given us the line of season 3.
I'm putting my foot down, Janelle. We're raising a nation of squibs.
Fine, but you're handling it.
No worries. You watch. This will blow their minds.
And Justin, we're not raising any squibs down here at Wynnum because there are kids and it's a freezing morning, and I'm not just saying that freezing in Queenslander, if you know what I mean. It's genuinely cold in any one state in Australia right now. Like, it's been single digits this morning that we've come down to. There are kids, the water's going, it's like Wynnum hasn't got the memo that it's freezing. Come on down to the water park, and the kids don't care. Some of these kids are absolutely soaking wet. We keep hearing parents saying, stop getting wet. You're at a water park. Of course they're going to get wet.
Of course.
So they're not squibs. They're getting in.
No,
it's wonderful.
They know what's up. Now, look, the reason why we're down here, Lou, is we're literally only days away from New Bluey. The countdown's on, isn't it?
Yep, the countdown is on.
So, you know, New Bluey, what do we know about these new episodes, Lou, that are coming up?
Well, Muffin has entered the granny's chat, hasn't she?
Oh, my goodness.
We see her yelling, and I know you're shocked, Muffin's yelling, about trying to buy a little motorised scooter off Janet and Rita.
How much money you got, Rita? Pardon? Hurry up! My hips hurt!
And why is she doing that? Because we get this glorious, half a second of its garage sale. And I can't wait for that to go down. It's going to be amazing.
My goodness, Muffin as a granny. Can you imagine it?
Yeah, I can.
One angry
That's
granny.
one rainy granny.
Just get out of the way of that motorised granny-mobile.
Any ideas what her granny name will be? Do you want to throw them out?
Oh, well, we've got Janet and Rita. We've had Karen, I think, in the swimming lessons episode.
And Margaret.
Margaret, yes.
Yes.
So, look, I don't know. Would Barbara be a good Barb?
Barb could be an angry granny, couldn't she? Yeah.
Barb.
All right, I like that as a guess.
Hi to my mum, who's also called Barbara, who is not an angry granny. She's a very happy granny.
It'd be an honour if she was Muffins,
fantastic.
Angry granny.
Absolutely.
You're listening to Bluey's Brisbane with Justin and Lou.
Oh, and we've also had some fantastic vague booking, and I'm going to accuse Dan Brumm of creating the FOMO on the socials. That microphone of his, he's been recording around Mount Cootha, and I'm really quite hoping that's actually going to be a location, not just some of his sound library that he's doing the Foley for Bluey. So that'd be great. I want to see the lookout. I want to see the Brisbane skyline from there. If there's not 4 X's in bright neon red in the immediate view before the city, they did it wrong. So I'm just throwing out a few things here. But yeah, we've had some interesting ideas, haven't we, from the socials of what people hope is going to be in the new episodes.
Yeah, Brisbane locals definitely have an idea of what they want to see in Bluey, don't they? I think the ABC kids did a post just the other day, what locations do you want to see in Bluey, and it went off. I'm on the record as saying I'd love to see Lang Park, Suncorp Stadium.
Yeah, we're getting into footy season,
maybe with a dog version of the King Wally Lewis statue with the state of origin. Love to see that. Love to see a healer version of that. That'd be fantastic.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. So like the Blueyverse version of the King. King Wally. I think that'd be great. Yep. We've also had some suggestions of planetarium. That was one of the others that some people were coming up with. I want more city cats. I'd love a trip on a city cat. I think one of our super fans, Madonna, would be very happy to see that, because we want to see the wraps around the city cats. We want Doggermorans in future around Brisbane.
Absolutely. And from my point of view, I know we've had Dave McCormack tease that there is a cricket episode coming. I'm not sure if it's going to be in the newest batch, but we do know that there is a cricket episode coming, and we actually have seen Dan Brumm on socials recording some of the Foley for that with a cricket bat and ball.
That's true.
So I'm kind of excited about that. So maybe the Gabba, the cricket ground in Brisbane, or Allan Border Field, one of our other famous cricket fields, gets a run. I'd love to hear Allan Border make a cameo, the former Australian cricket captain.
You're going to lose your mind if that comes on. You cricket fan.
Cricket tragic.
Absolutely, yes.
This is how you're supposed to play it.
This isn't the 80s, Pat.
Janelle?
Don't look at me, mate.
Oh, man.
Now, the question I've got for you, Lou Bromley, was Pass the Parcel one of the highlights of Season 3 of Bluey for you?
Yes, and it brought back memories as a kid, growing up with that as a game at a lot of the kids' parties. And it was high anticipation, hey? Because now as a parent who's played the music, just like Lucky's dad, it's so much easier with the smartphone to play the music and do start-stop.
Yeah,
but there was high stakes to make sure every kid got to unwrap it without smart tech. So I'm thinking, like, the CD player was a bit of a big deal when I was a kid.
Well,
I feel old saying that. Just hand me my Zimmer frame as I walk over here.
Well, one of the things I loved about Pass the Parcel was, and we're not going to recap this, we leave that to the experts, to Mary and Kate. In fact, they've done a great job of recapping
Heck yes,
Pass the Parcel.
go check that one out. Yep.
But one of the little factoids in this, I love when Lucky's dad, and praise be for another Lucky's Dad episode. Ever since, Dad Baby, I've been waiting for another Lucky's Dad episode. But, in the first one, he's bemoaning the touchscreen and he's sort of, big thumbs or his big fingers. He's not a fan. And then in one of the next parties, you see he's got the old school 90s boombox all covered in paint. He brings it out.
Yep.
Winning.
Yes. And yet he embraces it. And I just love the 70s rock chords that they use for him with the music at the party.
Blue, something we just did recently in between our last episodes was we met someone.
I'm just admiring a Harley Davidson. There are a lot of motorcycles that come down here too because it's just a gorgeous location, isn't it? It's
fantastic.
Nothing but water, island views.
Yep, looking out to
peninsulas.
Stradbroke Island there across the bay.
Yep.
Great spot for the kids. But look, since we recorded last, we happened to meet someone quite famous in the Blueyverse, didn't we?
Oh yes, we did. May feels like such a long time ago in the midst of time. But we went to the Brisbane Writers' Festival and caught a session, and we got to hear Megan Daly from Children's Books Daily interview Joe Brumm, which was amazing.
It was amazing, wasn't it?
And we met him afterwards.
We met him afterwards. What a nice guy.
It felt like we're doing the parent version of like going to see a band from our former youth.
Yeah,
and we went
absolutely.
backstage and we got to meet the act.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Now, there were some pretty cool little snippets that he gave away during that talk.
Oh my God, yes.
I mean, so many interesting, factoids about, behind the scenes of Bluey and how he, came to create it. One of the things I loved was his cartoon influences. Now, he mentioned a couple of cartoon influences, and I'm not talking animated cartoons, I'm talking still cartoons, from the newspaper. Remember newspapers? So, The Far Side.
Of course, yes.
Peanuts.
Yep.
And Calvin and Hobbes.
Yep.
And when he mentioned that, I thought, no wonder I love this show so much.
Yeah, and that Far Side humour too. It was just, so dry. And I love that it took you a moment for the mic drop moment too of the humour. Yeah.
Were there any moments for you in that discussion?
I asked the question from the crowd. He just threw out there, casual as anything, my next project after season 3 is going to be a movie, and just left it. And of course I was demanding more answers and wanted to see a screenplay and all sorts of things.
One of the other little factoids I loved about that too, he talked about the episode Ice Cream, one of my favourites, and set down there at South Bank. And he said originally they just set it in front of a brick wall and then thought, we better give the artist something to do. Let's set it at South Bank, and sent the Bluey art team off on a magical mystery tour of South Bank.
Ready?
Oh, go on, give us a double chocolate and a cup extra large.
Hooray!
I've got a problem.
And I think that was really interesting how he zoomed in on ice cream, because I would have thought the location dictated what happened, but no, they're all going to get ice creams. And then they did this wonderful, it's almost like putting the shot back in with the story from the museum. I've got a velociraptor attached to my ear muffin, right to ice creams. By the river and all that sort of thing. And that's just, you can do that right now. You can recreate that. More whales too. So it's sort of like Wales and the Whale Mall to Wales down here at Wynnum.
Yep.
So Yeah, I think there's just some really lovely things that we were learning about the Ludo Studio process, but also the storyteller that is Joe Brumm as well. Yeah.
And just the way his scripts have developed over the 3 seasons. And I think, maybe I should have asked this to him on the day, but I think with season 3, he's kind of hit the point where he's realised that he can get away with anything. Because, we had Dad Baby in season 2, which famously Disney, I don't think Disney would air in the States. We spoke to Dan Brumm and he said of that episode, I don't know how we're going to get away with this. But they did. Obviously in season 3, we've had the snip chat between Fido and Bandit. You've got Bandit on trial for fluffing in Bluey's face.
The face is at bum level. It's hard not to.
You've got Bandit as the most random chef,
Yes.
Je suis le chien,
Ah, what are you doing?
Je vous la fenêtre.
You don't put tomato sauce on pavlova.
Je vous la fenêtre.
This is a window.
There's just the most random out there kind of scripts now.
Yes.
I think he's kind of hit the point where he's gone, yep, I can just get away with everything. Let's just get it out there.
Ah, yay!
Unicorns. I can't see the page.
And why should I care?
I forgot about the catchphrase.
If you
Well, joining us down here at the Wynnum Whale Park is someone who's no stranger to Wynnum and Manly. Our next guest is someone who spent 25 years working for the ABC. Now, if you're in the States, that's the same broadcaster who brings us Bluey. Spencer Howson, long-time radio broadcaster, spent many years as the #1 breakfast host in Brisbane. He's currently hosting his own weekend show every Saturday and Sunday on 4BC, and he's also lecturing the next generation of radio hosts at the University of Southern Queensland. Spencer Howson, thanks for joining us down here at the Whale Park.
Justin and Lou, thanks for inviting me along.
But I want to go back in time. Young Spencer, when he arrived here in Wynnum Manly in 1982, because you're here at one of the locations for Bluey. This is one of the Pass the Parcel locations, and this is a bit before my time. Well, it's after my time, rather. There was no whale park when Lou was a kid. There was no whale park when you were a kid.
No, that's right.
But this sort of location, growing up here in Wynnum Manly, you used to record cassette tapes back in the day for your dad and send them back to the UK for him to listen. What sort of things was he listening to about, this Wynnum Manly life here in Australia?
Yeah, so my mum and I came out to Australia and after my mum and dad split up, and he stayed in the UK. So yes, I was never much into writing letters. I would record cassettes and send them to him. I don't know that I spoke too much about Wynnum and Manly. It would be really interesting to get those cassettes and listen to them. I have no doubt that he still has them in a box somewhere.
Yeah, wonderful.
I know what I remember doing was reading from the newspaper and playing songs and saying what the weather was going to be. Creating, and at some point I realised I was actually making radio, and that's where the whole radio thing clicked over in my brain. But I just thank you for inviting me to come back down here to Wynnum and Manly as the big bucket of water splashes over the whales here. They were not here, but just a little bit further down there you can see the big open air swimming pool here in Wynnum, and then there's of course the proper council baths in Manly a bit further on. But that open air swimming pool was here, absolutely it was here, and today there are yachts, there are remote control yachts on there, and a lot of this just hasn't changed. That's for me, that's the beauty of coming back down to Wynnum and Manly, is the bones of the place have just not changed. Yes, there are some houses that have been maybe knocked down and fancier ones put up, but I reckon most of what I see around me today, and I went for a quick little drive around, most of it was exactly the same 40 years ago when I moved here. Yep,
we were even just commenting before we recorded, like the houses behind us, they look just so ordinary and suburban, but they've got 180-degree views of Moreton Bay. There's sea views everywhere. Yeah,
and look, the shopping precinct just up on Bay Terrace and Florence and Edith Streets around there. This would have to be a rare example around here of where high street shopping or strip shopping has survived. And I know that it's gone through difficult times, but at the moment it's thriving. Yep. Whereas in a lot of Brisbane, like I live in Indooroopilly now, you can't do your shopping on the high street. You've got to go to a shopping centre. In Toowong and Taringa, it's the same. You've got to go to a shopping centre. There isn't a shopping centre in Wynnum. There is at Wynnum West, Wynnum Plaza. But it just says so much about this community. It hasn't changed. And yet, it's also beautiful and people are so proud of it. What has changed is just a few more cafes and restaurants and the art scene a little bit, the creatives who are evident around here. Bookshop. There's a bookshop on Bay Terrace where they have live music. It's a wonderful... I would happily, if I didn't have to go sort of into town or to Springfield to USQ, I would happily retire and come and finish my days here in Manly. I love it.
Absolutely. And with the cafes, the better coffee arrived, and I'm not complaining about that around Manly. Look, when you realised you were making radio shows, you were writing radio shows and recording them with a mate in the school ground who was none other than Kyle Sandilands. So, Wynnum Manly's a little bit of some radio greats here that so many people know around, not only in Brisbane, Queensland, but also Australia.
Yeah.
What memories do you have of making radio shows with Kyle?
Very vivid ones. So 32 Oakley Street, Manly was our house. It's not there now. His is, I won't say the exact address, but on Haylock Street, just around the corner. And so our BMXers regularly did the route between the two. But we would sit on my back deck at 32 Oakley Street, overlooking our pool, and there was a old typewriter, and we would script radio show. We would sit there and write full scripts for radio shows, and then I had a cassette recorder that I'd been given as I came out to Australia, the same one I recorded the letters to my dad on, and we would take that to the school, Manly State School, and we would rope all our friends in, and we would create radio shows, Kyle and I, on cassette.
Yep.
And it was that was 82 and 83 that we were great friends. And then, to be honest, we went to different schools, and we've bumped into each other along the way. And in fact, he was meant to be doing a guest Zoom lecture for my students just last week, but then he's been sick and he's been off air, so that didn't work out. So we've stayed in touch, and he very kindly referenced my rating success in his book. There was a line something like, "Every time I see that we're number one in Sydney, and I see Spencer's number one in Brisbane, I love that," or something. And I thought, he didn't need to do that. He didn't need to mention me. So I don't want you to think we've been best friends or that we are best friends, but we were then. We hung out with each other all the time. He had an obsession with the TV show Sons and Daughters, and we had
all that time ago.
Well, he tells the story that we kind of had the flash house and he didn't, and he liked hanging out at our house, and we weren't. I mean, we didn't have money, but we had a swimming pool, and we had a billiard table and a rumpus room with a bar, and so he would pretend he was Pat the Rat from Rowena Wallace from Sons and Daughters, and he would make me. I remember we went up to the tip. There used to be a tip just way up the Esplanade this way. It's now been covered over, and it's a hill, I think, in a park. But we went and we found this massive box and these little bits and pieces of an old ghetto blaster, and we made a big TV camera out of it, and he then pranced around our place as Pat the Rat, and I was the camera operator, and I had to film Sons and Daughters. So what are my memories? Even though it's 40 years ago, it's like I'm back there every time I think about it.
Kyle, in the revised edition of your memoir, that needs to go back in, I think.
Right.
Now, Spencer, I'm pretty sure Kyle has mentioned a Rolls Royce in his childhood, and famously he's got a Rolls Royce now. He can afford one.
Yeah, he actually, when he was interviewed by Andrew Denton on Enough Rope, he attributed my mum and our Rolls Royce as being the reason that he wanted to make money. So we had a 1962 Silver Cloud, and
he didn't have money though, but he had a Rolls Royce.
Well, we did.
It was an old Rolls Royce.
Yeah, that's right. It was an old. It was an
Granted.
And anyway, Kyle he loved all that, and when he was at high school, and we went to a different high school, but for his school formal or semi-formal or something like a dance anyway, he came to my mum and said, "Would you chauffeur my date and I?" And she thought that was hilarious, so she went and got herself a chauffeur's hat, and she chauffeured Kyle to the dance. But later, he said that he wanted a Rolls Royce, like Spencer's family had a Rolls Royce. So it's all our fault.
Look, Spencer, I want to talk to you about as being Spencer the dad. I want to go back and, you've just had your son, you're doing all the kids' parties, and, Wynnum is featured in all of the kids' parties that are doing the rounds on the calendar. What sort of things were you doing as a dad with Jack, with kids' parties? Were you the off-site family for all the parties around birthdays, or did you host?
So we were, when Jack was young, living in Taringa, and then more recently in Indooroopilly. And in Taringa, my memories are that I'd have to go back and sort of think about it year by year to give you an exact answer, but we would go to a local park, yes.
Yep.
Like, I love the traditional sort of games, and so I made Jack and his cohort, bob for apples, or I tied donuts to the washing line, and they raced to eat the donuts.
Yes.
And he always was so embarrassed by that sort of thing. But I love that, and I think it's so simple. I do think that people spend way too much money on themed parties, like they spend too much money on all of the occasions in life, formals, weddings. When you look back, when you become an old man like me, and you look back, there's way too much money and stress around all of that, and it includes absolutely includes kids' parties.
Yes.
The best thing I think that we ever did at a kids' party, it was in our backyard. Jack maybe had half a dozen friends who were playing, and I went to KFC and I bought, I don't know, I couldn't tell you the exact, let's say 120 nuggets, like an outrageous number of nuggets, and an equally outrageous amount of chips, and surprised them all. I said, sit in a circle on the grass, and I just plonked this mountain of nuggets and chips down on the ground, and that was just so satisfying. It was easy, there was no stress, and the kids' eyes just popped out. They're like, we're allowed to just eat all these nuggets? Yes, you are.
Now, Spencer, we got to ask, in Pass the Parcel,
oh, no,
sit
not
down
the
here.
Controversial
There
question.
was controversy. It stirred up a lot of controversy in Australian media.
Yes.
Are we raising a nation of squibs? Because we've gone away from, just that one big present in the middle of the Pass the Parcel. Are you a fan of Lucky's dad's rules, or the new way of doing it?
No, I'm with Lucky. I'm with Lucky's dad, rather, and it's one present in the centre. But because, look, if everyone gets to, if there's a present in every layer and every child gets something, it is seriously not doing those kids any good in terms of building resilience. And I know that maybe that's sounding way too serious and overthinking it, but that's the point of the episode, right? Or one of the points that was being made. I think that my memory of growing up and doing Pass the Parcel as a kid, and then what I passed that on to with Jack, and we certainly did Pass the Parcel, was that if there are 6 kids, you have 6 parcels, and then everyone can win a prize. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that you have one with a prize between every layer. So you could then argue that I've just gone on backflips and everyone gets a prize anyway.
You've done a hybrid.
But that's how we used to do it. But just watching that episode.
Yeah.
I'm totally with Lucky's dad. I love that episode. It's just like so much of Bluey. It's just so on point, isn't it?
It's a parent vibe as much as a kid vibe too.
Yeah,
the parents are just trying to survive yet another kids' party again.
Yes, and that one after another after. I mean, I drove. There's a park down the bottom of our street, and a couple of days ago I was driving past, and it was 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and clearly there had been a kids' party, and everyone was putting all their things back in the cars, and it was, I had 8 seconds as I drove past, but in that 8 seconds I was thinking, every parent is so relieved that party is over. They survived another one, and they're going home to make dinner.
Absolutely. Now, Spencer, you're going to take us on a little bit of a Spencer's Grand tour of Wynnum Manly. But before we do that, I want to sort of throw it open to you. We have a lot of listeners from the US, and a big thing we get on the socials too is, hey, is there a theme park that's Bluey? Whereas our argument is, no, Brisbane is the Bluey theme park.
That's right.
You can come down here and you can have a Pass the Parcel. You can have a Bluey day out. So I'm sort of throwing it open to you, to the international, interstate visitors who've never really done Brisbane. What do you think's worth coming and visiting around here, around Wynnum Manly?
What I'm about to say is not why you would fly from America to Australia. Clearly the reason you fly to Australia from America is to do Uluru, Harbour Bridge, Gold Coast, Barrier Reef. But having done all of those, if you're then in Brisbane, if you can explore somewhere like Wynnum and Manly, there are a couple of beaut things to do. One I will mention, which is a little bit further south, it's in Birkdale and Wellington Point, which is not technically Brisbane, it's the next city over. But there's an island, King Island, and you can walk to it when the tide is low.
Yep.
And so there's a British fish and chip shop, and you can take the boy out of England, but you can't take England out of the boy. I love my British fish and chips, salt and vinegar and curry sauce and a can of iron brew. So you have the British fish and chips in Birkdale, and then you walk over to King Island. So that's one thing you can do. There's just along the front here in Wynnum, there's a house where the front yard many, many years ago was concreted over, and then there's an impossible number of garden gnomes that absolutely cover the front yard. So you've got to check that out. Obviously,
we might see Gerald and Hecubas while we're there.
Jeremy will be there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Obviously, you go and have a look at Kyle Sandilands' childhood home. And then the other thing is the great...
It's our Hollywood.
And the other thing is the Great Wall of Manly, because
Yeah.
I think that it should be in a future episode of Bluey, the Great Wall of Manly. I think they
you're
could
making it cool.
they could-
Spencer's
Okay.
called it.
And it's
Yeah.
definitely something that, you know, to go back to your original question, especially if you've got kids. These kids
Yep.
over here, who when they finish playing with the whales, their parents have no idea about the Great Wall of Manly, I'm sure, because no one knows about it. But you can get a good 30 minutes entertainment. And you think I'm joking? You think I'm going to take
no idea
you
what
to
to
a
expect.
wall that
Yeah,
is
pretty
just,
much.
just
And it's in Manly.
you're going to roll your eyes and go, yeah, great, thanks, man. No. This is actually going to impress you, and you're going to ask yourself, why did I never know about the Great Wall of Manly before?
All right.
All right.
I'm
Let's do
suitably
it.
FOMO'd, I think.
Let's do it.
Let's do
Let's
it.
get to the Great Wall.
Done.
This is Bluey's Brisbane.
You're going to take a right turn and prepare
I'm prepared.
for the Great Wall of Manly as we go up Falcon Street. It's on the corner of Falcon and Wellington.
All right. The Great Wall of Manly.
That's it right there. So I'm gonna park here. Don't now.
It's a wall.
Okay, so here, the boring thing is this. No, it will get interesting. I promise you. It's a big retaining wall, right? So in the 1930s, as a depression project, they got people to build this great big retaining wall.
Okay.
Okay, so at the moment it's a retaining wall that's holding up half of Wellington Street, the houses up the top, and it's probably 2 or 3 metres high, and maybe goes, 40 metres up Falcon Street and maybe a little bit longer along Wellington Street. But here's the thing: one of the workers wasn't a labourer; he was an artist, and he said, "I'd really like to work on the wall, but can I create some animals that will be hidden in the wall, so that children for decades to come can bring their families and see if they can find the animals?" So that's what we're going to go and do. We're going to see how
you're
many
good.
Australian animals we can spot in the retaining
You
wall.
punked us, and then you just go.
This is serious
"Far
gold.
away."
This is gold. I'm telling you, this is gold. It's like a puzzle. It's like finding words in a puzzle, and you're finding animals in. So the wall, I guess you describe as a stone wall with really. What do you call the bits in between?
Like the mortar.
Mortar or grout or mortar, yes. So what you're looking for, there we go. Okay, so there's a goanna.
Oh, yeah.
You see the goanna? Yeah.
There he is.
He's up there, Lou. Just about 3 or 4 metres off the ground. You see it, the goanna?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a goanna, there's a kangaroo we should be able to find. I always thought of this was a kangaroo and boomerang, but I don't know. That might just be more, I'm seeing a boomerang image there, as you can see. But yeah, kangaroo.
Yeah, that's tempting to say that, isn't it? Yeah. He's
So do
got
you see
bits
what I
of
mean? So you
sandstone.
bring kids to Wynnum and Manly, you have fish and chips, you have ice cream, you play at the whale park, and then you go back to Brisbane and you miss this. This is what people do. And look, 10, 15 minutes of free fun, maybe 30 minutes, depending how many kids and how long it takes you to find them.
And they can play in the street.
Yeah, someone has to watch.
We're standing in the street.
Someone has to watch for cars. That is true. That is true. Kangaroo, emu, goanna, maybe boomerang,
Inconclusive boomerang.
and maybe there's more. They're the three. They're the 3 easiest to find. There might be more in there.
So we've got the plaque here just explaining a bit about the Great Wall, and I thought we would have got a little bit of intel about what animals that we can find, but it's inconclusive. There's no mention of the animals and the sculptor.
No, it doesn't mention the artist at all. I think we've just discovered a big gap here that needs to be rectified. The identity of the artist really should be recognised here on the wall somewhere.
Yeah,
They put
look.
this plaque up in 1997, the Wynnum Manly Historical Society, and they neglected to mention what I would argue is the most interesting thing about the wall.
I think that's very intriguing. Yeah, these little glimpses of this guy's work.
We need a petition to council and tell this guy's story, this artist's story.
So Wynnum Manly Historical Society, I bet you're still around. We need answers and we need them fast on a new plaque.
This house on the corner here, on the left, Mount Joy, and what's this street? It's not Cambridge. all the way up here. Oh, it is.
Yeah,
So the guy, it used to have an absolutely, when Kyle and I were at primary school, a manicured lawn, like really beautifully kept. And so the two of us used to rip it up with our BMXs because we'd come down from the school, there's the school, we'd come round here, do what we could, and he'd be standing waiting for us every afternoon. Oh, we were rebels. This is
And
Kyle
so-
Street.
Is this what we say we're in the Hollywood Hills of Brisbane, aka the
I know.
terraces and parades of Manly?
I
Wynnum Manly.
rode down this street on my BMX more than a few times.
I can feel
Flying
this.
down here on my
This
BMX.
is a good
in fact.
street to fly down,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, nice and wide, and you've got this
Long.
decline. Yeah. to check out the childhood home of legendary radio great Kyle Sandilands.
Right at the end on the left.
This is the dramatic build-up.
There isn't a plaque.
It's a portaloo.
I should just warn you. There isn't.
There's no plaque.
There's no plaque saying childhood home of Kyle
Kyle was
Sandilands.
here.
It looks like it's been done up recently. The fence around it has been.
It has been shushed.
Something's been done. Shushed. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's where he lived.
Nice.
Yeah. So he lived there, and the road between his place here and Oakley Street, where my house no longer is, was well ridden by us boys on our BMXs.
I hope the tradition continues with the 2022 BMX Bandits of Wynnum Manly.
I'm sure it does. And that's my Hollywood Hills of Manly tour.
The podcast showing off the best of Brisbane for real life. This is Bluey's Brisbane with Justin and Lou.
Maybe just a quick little shout out to Costa, who's one of the Bluey art directors, and I believe he shared on social media that he grew up in Wynnum. So this is the whole reason that Wynnum has appeared in Bluey. I guess if you're the art director, you've got that license to go, yep, I want to show off a bit of where I grew up.
Absolutely.
And let's pop a bit of Wynnum into the show. And
big thanks to Spencer for showing us where he grew up too.
Yeah. Look now, Lou Bromley, I reckon we need to get out of the cold and get into one of these cafes pretty quickly.
And just hug an espresso machine.
Yeah. I'm sure they've got some heaters. But yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy those new episodes of Bluey. And if you are in Brisbane or coming to Brisbane, make sure you get out and about in Wynnum Manly and have a sticky beak around the ultimate Bluey day out.
You've been listening to Bluey's Brisbane. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Just search for @Bluey's Brisbane.
This is not how you play Pass the Parcel.